Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to go over all the books I read in January and also pick my February TBR. In January, I read 6 books, so we'll go over those in a minute. And in February, I'll be traveling for about a week and a half, so we'll see how much time I have to read, but I'm still planning on having a few Kindle books on hand just in case I can on the flight or whatever. We'll be traveling to Mexico City for a friend's wedding, which I'm really excited about. So I don't think I'm going to have a lot of free time, but maybe we'll be able to do some bookish things. We'll see. So for 2024, I'm setting out to read all the Sarah J. Maas series. And there has been so much hype around this author, and book 3 of Crescent City just came out on January 30th, so I'm really excited to get on the bandwagon. My friend has already read all of these, and she recommended reading the acotar series first, then Crescent City, then the Throne of Glass series. So that's what I'm going to do, and I read a lot of acotar already in January, but before I started acotar, I actually started the year off with A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is an adult fantasy romance about Persephone, who is the goddess of spring, and she is living in the modern world and she's trying to be a journalist. She meets Hades, the god of the dead, at his club and unknowingly enters into a bargain with him where she must create life in the underworld or basically be his prisoner forever. But the dilemma is that although she is the goddess of spring, any plant she's ever touched in the past has shriveled and died. I really enjoyed this book. It was a fun and fast read, and I was really curious to get to the end of the book and see how it ends. Although the writing feels a little bit YA, it's still an adult book with a lot of spicy scenes. But overall, a very enjoyable read, and I will be reading the rest of this series in the future. Then I moved on to the acotar series by Sarah J. Maas. I won't be sharing any spoilers on this series because I know a lot of people want to read this, and it's a very hyped series on Book Talk. So book 1 is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. acotar, that is where the acronym comes from. And I absolutely loved this book. I know it's only book 1 of the series, and everybody says that the further you get into the series, the better it gets, but I absolutely just love this one already. This is also an adult fantasy with mild to moderate spicy scenes. The character development is incredible. The world and the writing is incredible. I immediately fell in love with Feyre and became extremely invested in all the characters. I love that she is such a strong and brave and smart FMC. I couldn't put it down. I was so lost in the story. Immediately 5 stars, and it read like 5 stars from the very beginning. Then I went right into book 2, which is A Court of Mist and Fury, and this was a roller coaster of emotions. I couldn't put it down. It was action-adventure packed, romance packed. I'm sure you've heard of chapter 55, but for me, it was chapter 54 that got me. Chapter 54 will forever be my favorite chapter. Basically, everything after the Court of Nightmares, oh my god. Let me know if you've read this and if you agree. Then the most shocking scene towards the end, I nearly cried. Texted my friend. She's like, just keep reading. So I did. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you have to read it to find out. Immediately 5 stars. I still can't get over it. I understand now when people say that the book hangover is real after this one, because I still think about it all the time, and I think this will be forever a favorite book. After that book, I wanted a bit of an emotional break, so I picked up a palate cleanser in the form of a light and breezy rom-com. So I picked up Pride and Precipitation by Heather Horrocks on Kindle. But this unfortunately didn't hit for me, and I might be missing something because I think this is based on Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, which I never read. But I really dislike the main character, Breezy Jones, who's supposed to be a meteorologist at her local news station. The plot is basically that her station gets bought out by a new company where she gets a new boss who immediately demotes her because of her appearance, even though she's well liked in her community. There's just a lot of weird, inappropriate office relations. Not cute, not really romantic. It's insta-lovey, no character development. Breezy is just sort of a doormat character who lets everybody walk all over her and doesn't stand up for herself, and it's a far cry from the series that I just came out of, so unfortunately it was a 1 star for me. I should have DNF'd it, but I didn't. Then I went back to the acotar series and started book 3, A Court of Wings and Ruin. This one was just a little bit slower for me because this one was mostly about the war, a lot of war strategy, war planning, and politics. There's still a lot of action and adventure in this one. You get a lot more of Feyre's sisters, which I like reading about. The writing is still just as amazing, obviously. There are several adventure scenes throughout this book, which I love. I do like reading through the action fighting scenes, but I think I prefer the adventure scenes, which this book has both. Not quite as heavy on the romance, but there are still quite a few spicy scenes. But it's not that first love, just falling in love for the first time kind of feeling, which is my favorite. I rated this one 4 stars on Goodreads, but it's more like a 4.5. I still really enjoyed reading this. A lot of people say this one is their favorite of the series because it's more like a true fantasy versus a romantasy. And I can see that because the politics is more at the forefront of the story versus the romance. And this is a long series, which isn't completed yet, and it makes sense to shift focus a little bit throughout it, but it was still an amazing book. I gave it 4.5 stars. The next one in the series is A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the novella. It's 232 pages, which isn't that short for a novella, but it's still pretty short. I flew through this one. It's just sort of an in-between to get to know the characters further. No action in this one, no adventure. They're just getting ready for solstice, which is celebrated similarly to Christmas. But it was cute. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. So now I have one book left in the series, and it's the longest one. And before I get into that, I wanted another quick, short little palette cleanser. So I read Delicate by Willow Winters on my Kindle. I'm not actually counting this as a book because I thought this was a novella that is a prequel to Broken by Willow Winters, which is a standalone dark romance. But it was actually just like the first 2 chapters of that book. I did like the writing, so I will be picking up Broken, and I'll read that somewhere down the line. So those are all the books I read in the month of January, and I thought it was a really good reading month for me. I got through a lot of fantasy books, which I'm surprised about because I generally read fantasy at a slower pace than other genres because it takes a lot more focus and concentration, so it takes longer to get through. And personally, I can't read a 600-page fantasy in 2 days. But let me know in the comments if you can speed read right through them and if you've read these and if you enjoyed them and what your thoughts were. Coffee break. Okay, let's move on to my February TBR. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be traveling in February for about a week and a half, so we'll see how much reading I'll be able to get done. But I did pick a few Kindle books to have on hand just in case I can. So the first book in February that I'm planning on reading is A Court of Silver Flames, and continuing with the acotar series. This one is the longest book of the series so far at 784 pages. So I'm definitely not packing this giant brick of a book in my carry-on, but I'm hoping to finish it before I leave. I'm really excited about this one, I think, and I'm not sure, but I think this one focuses on a different couple. Which means it's going to be that falling in love for the first time feeling, which you know I love, and a lot of people said this was their favorite. So I will let you know in next month's wrap-up video if this one will beat out A Court of Mist and Fury for me. Then for the flight, I chose Cupid's Anonymous by Leila Monroe on Kindle for the Valentine's Day vibes. And this is supposed to be a rom-com about a freelance writer who falls in love with her client. It's rated 4 stars on Goodreads, so I'm hoping it lives up to the rating. It's a standalone, it's not a prequel, and it doesn't end on a cliffhanger, so I think it'll be a good one to read while traveling. The next book on the list for February is Butcher and Blackbird by Brianne Weaver, and it has a really cute pink and black cover. Valentine's vibes, super on theme. This is a dark thriller romance, which my friend recommended, and she also recommended listening to this on audio, which I will do as well. I think she's already listened to it 3 times, so I'm really excited about this one. The viral Friends to Lovers dark romantic comedy full of murder, chaos, and sizzling chemistry. Every serial killer needs a friend. Every game must have a winner. Butcher and Blackbird, the ruinous love trilogy. The next one on the list is Gothicana by Runix. This is another dark fantasy romance with gothic and dark academia vibes. It's new adult, and this special edition was just released on January 27th, I believe, and it's absolutely beautiful. It has these beautiful purple sprayed edges. Artwork on the end papers is absolutely beautiful, and the chapters have really beautiful illustrations. Like that, so pretty. So I can't wait to read this one. I could possibly wait to read this in the fall because I think it would have good spooky vibes as well. Some of the other genre categories on this are gothic suspense, paranormal, mystery. It's described as Beauty and the Beast meets Dracula, but I kind of just want to read it now, so I will. And I'm really excited about this one. The next one I chose is also on Kindle, and it's called Opposites Attract by Camilla Isley. And it's also giving Valentine's Day vibes. Now, I'm not sure how people choose how many books they'll read in a month, but I'm going to estimate it by page count. In January, I read 2,620 pages, so because I'll be traveling in February, I'm going to estimate about 2,000, and this one should get me over that 2,000 page goal. And that's a soft goal, so I'm not going to be disappointed with myself if I don't get through reading all of those. Reading is meant to be fun, and that's the only reason why I'm doing it. So if life gets in the way and I get busy, that's perfectly okay. Okay, so this one is an enemies to lovers romantic comedy. It says so on the cover, and it's rated pretty highly on Goodreads, 3.72 stars. So I hope I like it. Although the last romantic comedy that was rated 3.76 didn't hit for me, but I still have high hopes that this one will deliver what Pride and Precipitation didn't. This is supposed to be about a single mom divorce lawyer and her neighbor who is a couples therapist. It sounds fun. I hope they have good banter, but I'll keep you posted. Now, if somehow I read all those books and I run out of reading material, which will never happen, I also picked up Crescent City. These are just the first 2 books, and these are the Barnes & Noble editions. I still have to get the third one, but these are just such beautiful covers. I don't think I'll get to these, but just in case, this is going to be the next Sarah J. Maas series that I'll be starting. But for this month, I'm most excited about A Court of Silver Flames, Butcher and Blackbird, and Gothicana. It'll be a really fun reading month. I'm really excited. I will update you on my February wrap-up, how I do, and I'm also planning on filming sort of a collective book haul, kind of like what's on my physical TBR right now with all my recent book purchases. Okay, well that was it for today, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!